Crikey, we have a problem in the garden. I think I have an infestation of mealybugs. And what mealybugs are, you can't really see them at first. In fact, you can't really see them until they're fully adult. But you can see their damage long before they become adults. They're tiny little bugs that take on the form of like a white fungus, or it looks like a little white cottony dots moving on the leaf of your plant. But they can bleed your plants dry. So you want to get rid of them while they're young. And to do that, we're using my proven plant formula. We're going to do 2 steps here. Whenever you have a winter garden, a disease is generally going to be localized to a certain area of the garden. And so you can catch it, if you're observant, you can catch it before it spreads all over the garden. And it's easier to keep under control that way. So I have one area of the garden where I noticed it was healthy a week ago, and now the leaves are looking sickly, pale, they're curling up, they're wilting. And lo and behold, with observation, I noticed these little like crystalline, almost like glass particles all over the stems and leaves of my plant, and I knew what it was. So we're going to use this 2-step process to get rid of them once and for all, and to keep them from spreading. Is these 2 miracle things. First, there's the Dawn dishwashing detergent, the regular. You don't want to use this power stuff here. You want to use this regular Dawn dishwashing detergent. And you can't say, well, like, it's not like any dishwashing detergent will do. This is a particularly effective detergent because of its gentleness. It doesn't damage the leaves, and it just has some kind of magical power, let's say. So when you I'm using a quart spray bottle here, and you want to use either tepid or slightly warm, not hot, but slightly warm water. And the reason you want to do that is because after you put this detergent in, you're going to also add baby oil. And the hot or warm, or not hot, but the warm or tepid water will help this baby oil to emulsify in the water, throughout the water, and so it will spray evenly when you spray your plants. Now, the reason you're using the baby oil is because if you use just the dish soap, that will kill the bugs, but not for long, because it will rinse off. It rinses off or rubs off, blows off with wind, the breeze, the fans, very easily. The oil helps it to stick to the leaf and keeps those bugs away after you've killed them. So you definitely want to use the oil with the detergent. Use the warm water or tepid water so that the baby oil emulsifies. Otherwise, in cold water, it just basically sits on the top, and then none of the oil is spraying out with the detergent. You're just getting the detergent until you get to the bottom of the bottle. So you want to shake that up real good so it emulsifies. The oil spreads out through the water. The detergent completely dissolves. You want that done. Give it a few good pumps, because you want some high pressure there. You want to really knock these bugs off their feet. So I'm going to give it some pressure there. And now we're going to go down there and complete the first step in this process. And then I'll talk to you about the second step, which is something that might surprise you. All right. So this is the area in question. This elephant ear, you can see how the leaves are starting to curl up. You see discoloration. Look at that underneath there. That's from the damage. That's the damage the mealybugs caused to their leaves. And they're causing it to all these leaves. Are spreading from leaf to leaf. It goes all the way back to that second, what's the black elephant ear it's called. And then, but it's spread all the way up here. Over here you can see on this stem, if you look closely, you can see little crystalline, that's the bugs. It looks like little salt crystals on the stems. It's actually immature or larvae mealybugs. You want to get rid of those as quick as possible. And you see it goes all the way up these stems. They're feeding on the stem, the sap. It's on the sunflower over here. Look at this leaf, how discolored it is and dead. So it's getting onto this leaf. So we're going to take care of that right now by spraying with our special elixir. Yeah. You just want to spray it over everything. Spray all those things off of there. So I'll do all that. I'll get this all done. And then I'll show you the second step. Okay, so when you spray these, for mealybugs, you notice they were all up in these stems where the junctures of the stems are. They will also be where the stems meet the leaf. So what you want to find, they're not going to be on the top of the leaf too often until they're adults, and then you'll see them because they're white, they're bright white. But for this stage of the game, you want to focus on where the stem meets the leaf and where the stem meets the bigger stem, the trunk. But you also, you want to make sure you rub your fingers along these as you wash them. You actually want to wash these stems off like this to make sure that all those mealybugs are off of there, because that's where they're going to go. That they're like mosquitoes. They're just feeding on the sap of this plant, and they can overwhelm it because they procreate so much, and there's so many of them that they can end up actually killing the plant. And what I'll have to do is I'll have to retreat this, even though the oil is going to keep the soap on for a good month here. It'll keep it on the plant. Just to be sure, I will retreat it in about 3 to 5 days, respray it with the soap solution. And I'm going to go to the second step, but there'll be one more step after the second step, and I'm just going to mention that right now. So the second step we're going to do, we've taken away the threat by killing off the bugs with soap and water and oil. But the plant is still sick because the bugs have attacked it already. So now the second step is we're going to help the plant get better. We're going to, by stimulating its immune system. I'm going to tell you how to do that. But the one thing you want to do after you do this, after you stimulate its immune system, is you want to go across these plants, like this leaf here. All these leaves have to go, because even with that stimulation of their immune system, which we're going to do in the second step, the damaged leaves will not heal. Damaged leaves cannot heal. They cannot come back. The plant can come back, but not the damaged leaves. And you don't have to worry about it, because you can take a lot of leaves off, because it's like hair. You know, you don't mind going to a barbershop and getting a haircut because you know your hair will grow back. Well, these leaves will grow no matter how many leaves you take off, unless you take them all off. They will grow back. And so you don't have to worry about that. But you do want the damaged leaves, if they're very damaged, you want them coming off. Because the disease, if the bugs are still on there, they will spread. It'll allow them to spread. If it's a disease like a fungus or a bacteria, it'll allow it to spread. Now with this sunflower, it wasn't mealybugs, as I discovered when I was spraying it. And I have to respray that because I didn't quite get it quite good enough. But if you look close at that leaf, the problem with the sunflower is it's got aphids. And aphids do the same thing as mealybugs. Aphids you won't find necessarily on the stems towards the main stem. You'll find them on the stems where they meet the under part of the leaf, and they're usually on the under part of the leaf. They're not on the top of the leaf. So you have to focus. That's where you have to focus your spraying. Now these, you see I didn't do a good job here because there's still plenty of them there, but I'll come and respray that one. But all these dead leaves, like this damaged leaf here, this will all have to come off. So we're sure that's a second way. We're sure that if we missed any aphids, we'll keep them from going on to other plants, and they will. They'll inundate your whole garden if you let them. So you got to stay on top of it all the time. It's a constant battle, but that's what gardeners do. So I'm going to keep my plants safe. Now I'm going to go on to the second step and show you how we accomplish that. Okay, now that we've destroyed or gotten rid of as much as we can the immediate threat of the bugs, our next secret ingredient is this: ibuprofen. That's right, common aspirin. And we use the 200 milligram tablet. But here's the thing. We're using a 2-quart pitcher. This tablet is enough ibuprofen for 10 quarts. So you just want to use a fifth of this tablet, and we're going to use this pill slicer or divider here to divide the tablet up a little bit, so we can just get about roughly about 1/5 of that tablet is all you'll need in this 2-quart pitcher. And you want it to be, again, slightly warm so it dissolves the tablet. In fact, we're going to crush it up into a powder so it dissolves better. And then you want to put that on your plants. So what does this do? Well, the same thing it does for human beings. What this does for plants is it stimulates their immune system. We got rid of the bugs, but the plant has already been damaged by the bugs. And we want to encourage healing. And then to encourage healing, we need to stimulate the immune system of the plant so it starts to put its energy, instead of growing more leaves immediately, it'll put its energy into healing whatever damage is in the plant. And that's what this ibuprofen does. Common aspirin, you wouldn't believe it, but you can give common aspirin to your plants to help them get better. But again, you don't want to overdose them, just like you don't want to overdose when you're taking it yourself. So you just want 1/5 of that tablet. Let's see what we can do with this. So there it is. I've divided up. That's what we're not going to use, but I've divided up, and that's about 1/5 of the tablet using the pill slicer. So we're going to crush that into a powder and put it into the pitcher and fill it with warm water all the way to the top line. And so you see it's really very little, just a touch of that powder that is necessary for really stimulating the immune system of these plants. So I'm going to dump that in there. Make sure all of it goes in there. And put some water in it and make sure it's real well dissolved, okay? Now, here's our solution, our ibuprofen solution. And when you pour this in, you just want to pour it around the roots a little bit. You don't want to use the whole 2 quarts for any one plant. These are big pots, so I'm putting a little bit more than usual. And I stirred it up real good so the ibuprofen is mixed into the water evenly. So it should get an even amount of the medicine. So just the plants that are affected is what you want to water. Let's see if I can pour some on that, because that looks a little bit. And that's how you do it. Now we're going to keep an eye on this very closely on this particular area of the garden, because now it's been under attack, so we know. And also be observant all over the garden, because these kind of infections can happen anywhere. And once they get started, once they get a hold, then they can really spread. Now we see right over there is a nice healthy looking canna, so it hasn't spread that far. You can basically see where it's spread just by where the leaves are damaged. And with these bugs, a lot of times the leaves will get like, now that's water, but it'll get something looking like that. It'll look dark and sticky, like it has a fluid on it, like a sticky substance, like sugar water or something poured on it. And that's your sign, if you can't see the bugs themselves, that your plant has an infection, and you've got to get it taken care of and get it under control. So I've done that. So we'll see how this fares now. I'm going to spray it one more time, especially that sunflower right there, just to make sure I got all the bugs, and then hopefully we'll see some improvement. So that's my tip for keeping your plants healthy for today in the winter garden. Happy gardening.